Today, we're going to break down one of the most incredible animal rescue projects you'll ever hear about. It all started with this one simple but absolutely massive goal: to save 1,000 animals from dying. Let's get into how they actually pulled it off.
1,000. That's the target. And a number that big tells you one thing right away. There's no single solution. This was going to take a whole bunch of different strategies, spanning across continents and species. It mobilized this huge network of really dedicated people. This wasn't just about one sanctuary, it was a massive, coordinated effort.
And the stakes? They could not have been higher. This quote from one of the vets involved just sets the tone perfectly. For so many of these animals, this intervention wasn't just, a nice thing to do. It was the only thing standing between them and certain death.
So how in the world do you even begin a project of this scale? Well, the first phase was all about getting your hands dirty. It was about direct, hands-on intervention, saving individual lives, one precious animal at a time. It all started with this one lion. Now, a toothache might not sound like a big deal, but for an animal in the wild, a painful, untreated infection, that's a slow death sentence. He couldn't hunt, so he would have starved. The team had to bring in a specialist to perform a root canal, literally saving his life.
The next challenge was with rhinos, and this was a tricky one. It was actually a problem created by a solution. See, anti-poaching fences are obviously essential for protecting them, but they also created a new issue. Weaker rhinos couldn't get away from the stronger, more dominant ones. They were being bullied, injured, and even killed over resources.
The solution was this really complex, four-step relocation process. First, you've got to tranquilize a multi-ton animal from a helicopter. Just imagine that. Then, once it's down, the ground team rushes in to fit it with a smart collar that tracks its speed to detect poaching attempts. They also implant a microchip in its horn, which helps trace it on the black market. And finally, they transport the rhino to its very own safe territory where it can thrive.
And the technology here is just fascinating. For the rhinos, the team used tranquilizer darts to sedate them. But for the giraffes, they used a totally different kind of dart. These were basically high-powered syringes, designed to deliver life-saving vaccines from a distance. And that's a huge advantage when you don't actually want to capture the animal.
And the impact was just huge. The team vaccinated 70 giraffes against a disease that had a 100% fatality rate. So every single dart was a life saved. This was a massive effort, coordinating between helicopters and ground teams to make sure the entire herd was protected.
Okay, so saving one animal at a time is absolutely crucial, but it's a reactive strategy. The next phase was about shifting from being reactive to proactive. It was about building safer, sustainable homes where entire populations could really flourish.
This next story just shows the incredible logistics involved. 3 lions were rescued from a zoo in Ukraine that was destroyed by the war. They were then flown 7,000 miles on a specialized cargo plane all the way to South Africa. And there they were released into this massive 14-acre sanctuary, finally home on their native land.
And sometimes the problems are a little more unusual. Meet Stompy. He's an emu who was raised with horses and cows, and he genuinely believed he was one of them. And this was actually incredibly dangerous, because he was at constant risk of being accidentally stomped on by his much, much larger friends.
So what do you do? The team partnered up with Lowe's to build Stompy his very own custom, safe emu sanctuary. And they didn't stop there. They also brought in a companion for him, another emu, so he wouldn't be alone in his new, completely horse-free home.
But here's the thing. No rescue effort this big can succeed without people. The next phase really highlights that vital role of the human connection, the community, the adoptions, and the public support that really drives animal welfare forward.
In overcrowded shelters, time is the enemy. And here's a heartbreaking fact. While puppies get adopted pretty quickly, older dogs are often overlooked. And that puts them at the highest risk of being euthanized just to make space.
This is Blue. At 10 years old, he represented so many other senior dogs just waiting patiently for a home. By focusing on his story, the project made this problem really personal and relatable. It inspired people to think about adopting an older companion. And spoiler alert, Blue found a perfect, loving home.
So the team organized these massive adoption events where they covered all the adoption fees and medical bills, which removed a huge financial barrier for families. They found homes for 100 dogs, but they also saved miniature horses from an auction where they were going to be sold for meat, and even rescued 4 donkeys, making sure that bonded group could stay together.
So, the final phase was all about scaling up. This is where the strategy pivots from addition to multiplication. Instead of just doing direct rescues, the project started funding a whole network of sanctuaries, and that created this massive ripple effect.
And the impact was immediate. This funding model supported the release of 200 animals in the Amazon, including these rare silky anteaters. It saved 20 foxes from the fur trade, funded treatment for injured owls, deer, turtles, and helped hundreds of other animals across dozens of organizations. This just accelerated the count toward that 1,000 mark like crazy.
And during this process, they discovered some incredibly creative ways people are raising money. One sanctuary runs a 24/7 live stream on Twitch. Viewers can actually donate to give the animals treats in real time. It's this amazing, innovative model that connects a global audience directly to the animals they're helping. Oh, and this sanctuary also got a $50,000 donation to build a brand new wolf enclosure.
And so they hit their goal, 1,000 animals saved. But as this final quote from the team makes really clear, hitting a target isn't the end. It's just a milestone in a much, much larger and ongoing mission.
Which leaves us with this one final thought. This project really provides a powerful blueprint for modern conservation. It's a hybrid model, right? It combines direct action for the immediate crises, building habitats for long-term stability, engaging the community for local support, and then scaling up the funding to multiply the impact. So the real question isn't just about what they accomplished, but what this whole strategic model makes possible for the future.